I stand between you, how foolish mortal pies. The pass for mother to eyes the pass.
Every village has a secret. In the village of Adibeo, hidden between thick forest and dusty hills, there was one nobody dared speak about after sunset. Every full moon, a young girl named Zoe disappeared. She was beautiful, quiet and kind. During the day she sold fruit in the market, carried water from the river and helped the old women pound yam beneath the trees. She lived alone in a small mud house at the edge of the village after losing both her parents when she was young. Yet whenever the moon became round and bright, Zoe was nowhere to be found. By morning she would return. Her feet would be covered in mud. Her wrapper would be torn by thorns. And her eyes always looked as though she had seen something terrible. The villagers whispered when she passed. She walks with spirits. She belongs to the forest. She is cursed. Soon even the children were afraid to go near her. But there was one person who never believed the rumors. His name was Kellen. He was a young hunter, brave and strong, with kind eyes and a quiet voice. He had known Zoe since they were children. He remembered how she used to laugh beside the river and chase butterflies through the tall grass. Now she hardly smiled at all. One hot afternoon in the market, Kellen saw Zoe sitting alone beside her basket of oranges. Around her, the market women lowered their voices and stared. An old man pointed his walking stick at her. That girl will bring death to this village one day. Zoe lowered her head and pretended not to hear. But Kellen saw the tears in her eyes. That evening he found her by the river as the sun sank behind the hills. She was kneeling beside the water, washing the mud from her feet. "Zoe," he said softly, "tell me what is happening to you." She did not answer at first. The orange light danced across her face. Her long braids, decorated with beads, rested over her shoulders. Her hands trembled. "You must stay away from me," she whispered. "Why?" She turned and looked at him with frightened eyes. "Because tomorrow is the full moon." Kellen frowned. And if you follow me," her voice broke, "you may never come back." The next night, the moon rose large and white above the village. Inside her small house, Zoe sat alone in silence. She tied the beads into her braids with shaking fingers and wrapped her favorite brown and gold wrapper tightly around herself. Then she stood and opened the door. Outside, the village was silent. The market was empty. The goats slept. Even the wind seemed to have disappeared. Zoe stepped into the moonlight and began to walk. Far behind her, hidden in the shadows between the huts, Kellen followed. She walked through the village without once looking back. Past the old baobab tree. Past the dusty road that led to the river. And finally towards the dark forest beyond the fields. The deeper she went, the stranger the night became. The trees were taller here. Their branches twisted together like long black fingers. A cold mist crept along the ground. Kellen followed quietly, keeping his distance. Then suddenly he heard it. Voices. Soft voices singing somewhere in the darkness. The sound floated between the trees like a whisper. Zoe stopped in a clearing beneath the full moon. And one by one, women stepped out from the shadows. There were 7 of them. They wore long white wrappers that glowed in the moonlight. Their feet did not touch the ground. Their faces were beautiful but pale, and their eyes were empty. Kellen froze. The women began to sing in a strange language older than the village itself. Then Zoe lowered her head and walked with them deeper into the forest. Kellen followed. The singing led them to a place no one in the village had ever seen. Ancient stone ruins stood hidden between the trees. Broken pillars rose from the earth, covered in vines and moss. And in the center of the ruins stood a giant tree. Its trunk was split open like a doorway. The women in white disappeared into the tree one after another. Then Zoe stepped forward. Before she could enter, Kellen ran from his hiding place and grabbed her arm. "Do not go," he said. She turned to him and tears filled her eyes. "I have no choice." "What do you mean?" For a moment she said nothing. Then finally she spoke. "Many years ago, before I was born, my mother came into this forest during a full moon. She found this tree and took one of its sacred fruits. The wind moved through the ruins. She did not know the tree belonged to the spirits," Zoe whispered. "They cursed our bloodline. Every full moon, the eldest daughter of our family must return to the forest." Kellen stared at her. "All this time, you have been coming here alone." She nodded slowly. "If I do not come, the spirits will leave the forest and take someone else from the village." Before Kellen could speak again, a voice echoed from inside the tree. "Bring her to me." A tall woman stepped out from the darkness within the trunk. She was more frightening than anything Kellen had ever seen. Her long black hair touched the ground. Her skin was pale like ash. A crown of twisted branches and bones rested on her head. Her silver eyes glowed in the moonlight. The women in white bowed before her. She was the Spirit Queen. "You were warned," she said to Zoe. "Tonight, you stay forever." Zoe fell to her knees. But Kellen stepped in front of her. "No." The Spirit Queen smiled. "Then you will die with her." The ground began to shake. The roots of the giant tree rose from the earth like snakes. The wind screamed through the branches. Then the Spirit Queen lifted her hand. "There is one way to break the curse." Kellen looked at her. "Tell me." She pointed towards the highest branch of the giant tree. "At the top of this tree grows the sacred fruit your mother stole long ago. Bring it to me before the moon leaves the sky. If you fail, the girl belongs to the forest forever." Without hesitation, Kellen began to climb. The tree was enormous. Its bark tore at his hands. The branches twisted beneath him. Strange shadows moved between the leaves. Below him, Zoe stood trembling beside the Spirit Queen. Higher and higher Kellen climbed until at last he saw it. A single glowing fruit hanging from the highest branch. He reached for it. The branch cracked. Zoe screamed. Kellen fell. He hit the ground hard among the ruins. The glowing fruit rolled across the stones. The Spirit Queen laughed. "It is over." But Kellen forced himself to move. Every part of his body ached. Blood ran from his hands. Yet somehow he crawled through the dust until he reached the fruit. Then he held it up.
"You're safe now."
"For her," he whispered. The Spirit Queen stepped forward slowly. For a long moment she stared at him. Then she took the fruit from his hand.
Now.
The forest became silent. The fruit began to glow brighter and brighter until suddenly it turned to ash in her hands. A terrible cry filled the night. The women in white vanished into smoke. The giant tree cracked down the middle. The Spirit Queen looked at Zoe one last time. "You are free." Then she disappeared into the darkness. The ruins began to crumble. Kellen fell to his knees. Zoe ran to him and held him tightly. For the first time in many years, she cried not from fear, but from relief. As the first light of dawn touched the trees, the forest grew quiet. Months later, another full moon rose above the village. The people watched from their houses, waiting for Zoe to disappear again. But this time she did not leave. Instead, she stood outside her little mud house with Kellen beside her. The moonlight touched her face, and she smiled. The whispers were gone. The fear was gone. And though the forest still stood beyond the hills, no one in the village ever again heard singing beneath the full moon.